In these perilous times, see from current events how biblical prophecy is coming to pass in front of our eyes. You're watching In the Last Days, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. With Martin and Natalie Blackham, thank you to our friends and partners who make this program possible. Now, here's Martin and Natalie.
Hi, welcome to the In the Last Days television program. Great to have you with us. We welcome you wherever you're watching today across Europe, friends in the UK, into Africa and across the Middle East. Great to have you with us. We have a very special In the Last Days television program today, and Natalie can't be with us, by the way. She is behind the scenes. But we have Yoni Yagodovsky from Magen, Adom.
Hello.
In Tel Aviv. You've come across, well, not from Tel Aviv today, you've come across from Jerusalem today, but we welcome you to the studio in Jerusalem. Great to have you with us. And we are living in a very important time in history. Israel has different pressures on different sides, from Hezbollah in the north and Hamas in the south, and you've got all the Middle East unrest. And recently we were just talking, Yoni, about the attack on the school bus, and I think that'd probably be a good place to start off with. You, what was your involvement in that?
Well, me personally, I was not there, but Magen Adom teams responded immediately. We have ambulances in the nearby kibbutzim, alongside to the stations that are a little bit far from there, and we are part of the emergency response system all around the western Negev, close to the border with Gaza, and Magen Adom in the south of Israel, southwest of Israel, which is part of the overall relationships that we have with the security system in Israel, because we are the ambulance services and blood banking services of the state of Israel. And when we received the fact that a school bus was attacked, the beginning was, we didn't know what was the main reason for that. Eventually it's an anti-tank missile that hit it. We immediately responded from the communities nearby. Teams arrived within a few minutes to the scene, and then mobile intensive care units arrived from the nearby city stations, treated 2 casualties. One was the driver of the bus, was lightly injured, was taken for checkups in the Soroka hospital in Beersheba, and one teenage boy that lives not far from Jerusalem and was on his way to meet his grandmother in one of the communities in the area, and took a kind of ride on this school bus, was severely hurt. He is still in serious condition in the hospital in Beersheba, and we all pray for his recovery, but it will take time, I guess.
And you've been involved now with MDA, Magen Adom, which is the emergency medical service for Israel since you were 16.
Yeah.
And so you've seen a lot in your years, and you're involved internationally as well. As well as being involved in Israel, you go abroad with training and different things.
Yeah, Magen Adom will be in, let's say, in 2 months celebrating 81 years.
Wow.
Magen Adom in Israel. We began at the time of the British Mandate as Jewish medical first responders medical services, and then blood banking services. And when the state of Israel received its independence, Magen Adom was the emergency medical system of the becoming state and the new state of Israel. And according to the Magen Adom law that was legislated in 1950 by the Knesset, by the Israeli parliament, we have various national duties and international duties. One of them is we are the Israeli Red Cross Society. Now, I joined when I was 16 as a youth volunteer in Jerusalem, and
that's quite normal. There's a lot of young people who are volunteers.
Yeah, it is part. It's part of, let's say, part of the Israeli culture, that teenagers, in addition to their daily activities, and now it's internet and cellular phones and shows and whatever, and school a little bit, you know, we have to go to and enjoy it, try and find and are also encouraged to do some and to, let's say, donate their time, their energy, their abilities to the community. And I chose Magen David Adom. I found it interesting. I had some friends who already did it, so they said it's a lot of fun driving in with ambulances, with siren in the streets of Jerusalem. It's fantastic. Everybody sees you. But pretty soon, after receiving my basic training, I realized that it's not only interesting, it is rewarding, and we can make a difference, each and every one of us. So I volunteered until I graduated high school. I was a medic, a combat medic and a medical trainer in the IDF, in my regular army service and then in reserve. And I came back after the army. I began to do some part-time job in Magen David Adom, studied and stuff like that. And then about 10 years after I began volunteering, I was, let's say, fully hired. And then it was the real beginning of the career in the organization. I was dealing with training. I'm a paramedic and a medical trainer. I was the deputy director of the Jerusalem region, then the director of the region during the second Intifada. And currently I'm working I'm the director of the international department in Magen David Adom. So I've seen around. I've been around.
And there's a recent development with the Christian Friends. Well, I say recent, it's been a few years now, but for the viewers watching, they've recently got a new department, the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, and they can go to the website. It's a nice website, fairly easy to find, the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, and if they want to help, they can donate online, I guess, and with a credit card.
Something that I think is pretty much unique of the structure and mainly the people in the organization. We are relatively a small number of workers in all over the country. We have 1,600 paid personnel, but more than 12,000 volunteers that come from the entire spectrum of the Israeli society, whether Jews or Christians or Muslims or Druze, whether they are men and women, of course, whether they are secular or Orthodox, and in all ages. And we have, let's say, chains of families that are volunteering in the organization for many, many years. And we provide services to everybody. So we can benefit from the positive abilities of the people in the communities that we are there, that come and volunteer with us. At the same time, we are a non-governmental organization, so we rely on donations. And we were fortunate over the years to receive donations.
So the Israeli government doesn't fully support in the sense of financially undertaking all the costs?
Yeah, according to our status as a National Red Cross Society, that means that the government we are not a governmental body. We're what you call a public organization. The government gives us some kind of a budget for national preparedness and for national emergencies. But for the day-to-day activities, which is the majority of what we do on a daily basis, we have to arrange our own income. And part of our own income are donations. And we are fortunate to receive donations from people from all over the world, again, Jewish and non-Jewish. And the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, the International Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, is a development of an ongoing relationships with a lot of Christian communities. And then there was, in England, a group formed as the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom that are part of the Magen David Adom Friends in the UK. And then on and on it went to other places. And I think it's fantastic because we simply provide services to whoever needs us. And fortunately, we have a lot of tourists coming. Some of them don't feel well, and we are there for them. And it's part of our duty.
We had the bombing in Jerusalem, and of course, you were the manager for a time in the Jerusalem Magen David Adom station there. Tell us a little bit about what it's like, because when you arrive at such a scene, most people are going away, or some people watch because they're so in shock, or it's something they can't believe's happened. But you have to go there and do something. You have to go into action. So do you switch the emotions off? How do you respond to that?
I think that it's practically like any other response to any medical emergency. And then what you call your professional abilities are taking over your personal feelings. And then after you finish up treating the patient and he's in the hospital and he's safe, he's receiving definitive medical attention, then the personal feelings are coming back to you, which is, I think, the most normal thing that can happen. Meaning not having personal reactions and personal feelings is abnormal, is not healthy. So we train our people a lot. They know what are the expectations from them, and they know exactly what to do. They have all the tools and means and equipment and knowledge and experience to react to any emergency. And I think this is the best and the most important part of our abilities. Because if people have the knowledge, they feel safe, they can perform well, and they can fulfill their personal assignment or mission, which is a mission. It's a life mission. To save someone else's life is a mission.
Now, in the bombing we just unfortunately had in Jerusalem, there was a British lady was killed in that, and you responded, but you were part of the PR team, which is your role at the moment in Magen David Adom. You're doing more.
Part of my role. Yeah.
So, and I heard that you spoke to CNN.
Yes. Yeah.
And
it is part. Look, the media is a very important tool in daily life. It is a very important tool in the life of an organization like Magen David Adom, needed to say in the life of the State of Israel. There's a lot of criticism towards the State of Israel. And part of the work that we do after we make sure that all the patients are safely treated in hospitals, we also deal with the media coverage and the media exposure to what has happened, what we did as an organization, what are our personal feelings as Israelis, and in order to send out a message that will be heard by people and maybe will change a little bit their way of, or their reaction towards the State of Israel, towards the current conflict that we are facing for many, many years. It had ups and downs. We had a very quiet, relatively time in means of terror attacks, explosions in the cities. We had a few years of relative calmness, and this explosion occurred. It doesn't mean that in other aspects it was quiet, because in the area of South Israel, around the Western Negev, around Gaza, that's still on a daily basis. Even though there was kind of a ceasefire, there were still hostilities. We had the Second Lebanon War for nearly 5 years ago. And it is part of the way that the country is behaving, carrying out our normal lives, and on alert, just in case something will happen, to be able to respond as quickly and professionally and provide the services that we are designated to do.
Now, if you're watching today, we have Yoni Yagodovsky from Magen David Adom in the studio, and there's a special organization called Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, and the viewers can contact them and even volunteer. They could, if they'd like to, I guess.
We have. We have volunteers in Israel that are non-Jewish. They're Israeli citizens. They're Christians, or they're Muslims, or they're Jews, and they're part of Magen David Adom. We have stations in non-Jewish communities that are fully manned and activated by people who live in these communities. It's part of our mission. And the support that we receive from non-Jewish communities all over the world is really heartwarming. Because there are people in Israel that have the feeling that, well, we are not the most lovable country, or let's say even people in the world. And from receiving the support that we receive and meeting the people that we meet, and we know that people are making a lot of efforts to support Israel, to support Israeli organization, and to support Magen David Adom. And it is really fantastic. It gives us a very strong feeling of knowledge, and knowing the fact that there are people, or there are movements, or the politicians that don't like us. But at the same time, Israel and people have a very strong feeling towards Israel and a very strong belief in the fact that Israel has a right to exist. And by supporting us, it's giving us a lot of tools to carry out our daily missions. And this is fantastic, and we're very grateful for that.
And you can see on the side of the ambulance, what's quite touching is that on the side of the ambulances, they have a panel where it says it's donated by a family or an organization, and that goes all around Israel, and people see that. It's
all the ambulances in Magen Adom, all the life-saving vehicles, all the blood mobiles, most of the sophisticated medical equipment, stations of Magen Adom are donated. All the donations that we receive are invested in the development of the services. So we are very proud to present, first to the donors, our gratitude, but also to the general public, the fact that this ambulance, this blood mobile, this station was built or purchased by the donation of wonderful people or communities. And it is our, let's say, humble gratitude to show our appreciation by placing their inscription or whatever they wanted us to put on, so everybody will know that. And if they want, if they want to be anonymous, we respect that also. So there's kind of a version for that also.
Wow. And on a personal note, the recent catastrophe in Haiti, you remember exactly what you were doing when you heard about because you have this international role as well.
Yeah, Magen Adom, as I mentioned, is the Israeli Red Cross Society, and we are part of the international movement. It took us a while to be admitted, but even before we were fully admitted as a full member to the international movement, Magen Adom and the State of Israel were providing assistance to countries in need, let's say from the early 50s of the former century.
Is that you'd be training people to respond to medical emergencies?
We're training people in Magen Adom and in Israel. We join forces with other Israeli organizations in order to respond, both building our capacities. If there is a natural disaster, will be a natural disaster in Israel, but at the same time willing to extend our services to those who need us at that time. And when the horrible earthquake happened in Haiti, one of my roles is to work when there are emergencies and to be the liaison officer of Magen Adom to the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I worked there, we checked and saw what can be done. We were in touch with the International Red Cross, with the American Red Cross, we have very good relationships with them. And pretty soon after, a few days later, the first medical mission went out by the IDF, the field hospital, and we had a few people from Magen Adom that were enlisted to the army and joined in. And then
is that doctors or
paramedics? Our paramedics. And then another mission came of the field hospital of the International Red Cross. That is a joint venture of the Norwegian Red Cross, medical teams also from Canada and from Magen Adom that built up a very big hospital in Port-au-Prince and also worked there, and we had teams there rotating for a while. Then we took another mission with the American Red Cross, and there was a team in order to distribute food, water, shelter, blankets, and so on, that they worked together for, I think, a month or so. And at the same time, we reviewed the needs for the Haitian population. What do they need as a long-term project? And we realized that due to this horrible catastrophe, there were many amputees. And the people in Haiti didn't have the knowledge and the expertise and the equipment to rehabilitate these people. So we formed a coalition with experts in the medical field in treating amputees, doctors and orthopedists, and people are producing false limbs and so on, artificial limbs. And we went together, funded by the JDC, We've built a rehabilitation center in Haiti. It's been functioning for more than a year now. And we have teams coming from Israel and training and working with that. And one of the most emotional things that I saw and met is a guy who lost a leg. He was a very known dancer in Haiti. He's dancing again.
Wow.
After he lost his leg, and it was fantastic to all of us. It's really telling us very clearly that we chose well, we knew what we were doing, we fulfilled a need for the people in Haiti, and we will carry on doing it until they will be able to support it themselves. Because I think it's the most healthiest thing when a community is recovering and being able to support their own people.
And then take over the rehabilitation center.
Wow. We will assist them as long as they need us.
Now, in Magen David Adom, you have, as you said, a lot of volunteers there. I would guess, is it like 3/4 of the staff? Something huge.
80% are volunteers.
Now, these young people have to respond, and like for example, the Jerusalem bombing. If they're quite young, what happens then? I mean, if they're, for example, 16 or.
Our regulations are very clear. Youth volunteers, meaning up to the age of 18, are not responding to terror attacks or to what you call dangerous scenarios. They can stay in the ambulance, and when the patients are brought to the ambulance, they will treat the patients. But if they're in the station, they won't go out with the ambulance to the call. We have people who are 21 and older that are allowed to do it. We have protecting manners or means in the ambulances, flak jackets, bulletproof vests, helmets, and so on. We have a very, very known routine that is being passed over on a yearly basis in refreshing courses to our teams, how to respond to various types of emergencies, in addition to the basic training that we provide them. So the youth volunteers are providing backup. When this terror attack happened in Jerusalem, we still had to provide the regular emergency services to patients.
Right.
In the city, in the area of the city of Jerusalem. It's the most populated city in Israel. There were car accidents, people didn't feel well, heart attacks, and so on. So they are part of these teams. They'll continue to respond to the regular routine activities. I can't tell you that some of them are not sneaking in, because it's part of the drive.
And you were 16.
I did it myself.
Right.
One of the first events that I responded was 3 weeks after I graduated from my basic training, was an explosive device hidden in a used refrigerator that was put in Jaffa Street in the city center and exploded in the summer of 1975.
Was that during the day when people
During the day,
around?
during the morning. I was in a bus with a friend driving, and we were about, a few hundred meters from there.
So that you heard the explosion?
We heard the explosion, we saw the ambulances, and then I realized, okay, I learned something, so let's do something. And believe me, then I knew that I thought I knew everything. I was the best lifesaver in the world. Nobody can resist my abilities. I immediately learned that I have to know more, much more. But that's the first time that I responded to a terror attack.
And do people freeze? They see this carnage. Do they kind of? Some people won't be able to.
It's so interesting. The way that people react is very interesting. Some, as you mentioned, freeze, don't know what to do. Others run away, which is a very healthy thing to do. Get away from the danger. Others run in to save lives. This is what we do. We run to the scene. I met after this attack one of our volunteers. She's now serving in the army, and she was at the next junction. She heard the blast. She doesn't remember the journey she did running to the scene, but all of a sudden she was treating patients. It's our mission, it's our drive to go and treat patients, and then knowing that there might be a second device or another terrorist, which happened many times. Yeah. Many times there was
So
other devices. We are risking our lives
right.
in order to respond, but it is part of the system. Because when we respond, the bomb squad of the police department is responding, and other agencies, and the fire department, and everybody is focusing on saving lives. The minute the bomb squad says there is another danger, or any other police unit says there is a danger, everybody is taking the patients, taking them out to the ambulances. As long as there is no other danger, everybody is working together in what is categorized as the hot zone. And we have the equipment, the abilities to provide some kind of safety to our teams while they are working in dangerous areas.
And what a time in history we're living in, that, you know, that your role is going to be, I believe, is so important. So it's been great to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget you can contact them with the website. You can be in touch with them. And if you'd like to donate towards an ambulance or volunteer, all the information is on their website. It's been great to be with you. And remember, we're living in the last days.
You've been watching In the Last Days, a TV program with Martin and Natalie Blackham, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. If you would like to financially support the program or find out about conferences, meetings or ministry products, then please contact us with the details on your screen. Visit our easy-to-use website at www.inthelastdays.com and register for our free e-newsletter. Get the latest news from Israel, product information, online video teaching, or watch today's TV program at a time that's convenient to you. Thank you again, friends and partners, for making this program possible.
See you in 2 weeks, same time, same station, for the next program from In the Last Days.